Cyberpunk as a genre emerged in the 80s, weaving stories of everyday individual lives struggling against an impossibly organized and increasingly oppressive techno-commercialist system. A comfortable fit into the postmodern movement, the genre rose as a sober spit in the face of the atomic age, an era of optimistically imagined futures which embraced innovation and the sociocultural changes it would bring. But that era came to be criticized as naive, overly faithful that very innovation would be capable of being neutral, universally emancipatory. And so modernism died, taking the atomic age with it. Gone were these utopic visions, replaced by an irony, a valuing of individual experience, an eclectic and forward-thinking set of aesthetics fit for an increasingly technologically connected and globalized society. We were now learning from Las Vegas, and cyberpunk films, shows, games, and novels were along for the postmodern ride. Cyberpunk, though, was more than just a genre of storytelling, it was a way of looking at the world. It was beautifully paradoxical in that it was equal parts fantastically imagined yet disturbingly grounded in reality, driven by the simple formula of, what if we took imagined future X and applied to it real-world issue Y? And sure, there are the low-hanging fruit examples of this. What if our technology got advanced enough to fight for autonomy and became a threat to our own egos? Arrives you with the worlds of Terminator, The Matrix, iRobot, Ex Machina, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and Dune. What if new technologies enabled late-stage capitalism to go even later stage and unchecked powers to go even more unchecked? Receives answers from Blade Runner, Minority Report, The Running Man, and Judge Dredd. And I know it's not first instinct to look at some of the insane imagery I've put on screen here and think, wow, this is a highly nuanced and intelligent reimagination of current and future social, economic, cultural, and political events. But these narratives, at least as they were originally intended to be, were often far more thoughtful and grounded than we gave them credit for. A corrupt government abusing its people by stripping them of resources to build technology that will allow them to more easily abuse said people isn't just something you'd see in the news, it's also the plot of Star Wars. A company taking advantage of its employees and putting them in dangerous situations for the sake of profit isn't just the topic of many of this country's biggest lawsuits, it's also the setting of Alien. But, of course, as you likely know, and as happens to all movements that are meant to dissuade us from the status quo, cyberpunk was always doomed to either be stomped out by the mainstream or become a part of the new mainstream. In this case, it was the latter. Just like the postmodern movement more broadly, as cyberpunk entered the 21st century, it was effectively deprived of its teeth. What was originally a bleak, dystopian visual language with a cynicism for technology, governments, and corporations was watered down to an aesthetic, and a trendy and profitable one at that. Cyberpunk was no longer the land of counterculture, resistance, and cult classics. Now it was the stuff of blockbusters and franchises. The questions that War Games and I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream and Cowboy Bebop posed about how an unchecked, capital-driven system would exploit the nascent information age had received many answers, and they had come with all of the expected melancholy and little to none of the cybernetic excitement. What was left of cyberpunk at that point was twisted and reappropriated into something more palatable to the public. Its sights and sounds and concepts redirected and split off into movements and styles more fitting of the age of the iPhone. But the subject matter that cyberpunk stories warned us about is now more pressing than ever. Growing inequities between the haves and the have-nots, perpetuated by developing technologies and the emergence of AI, echo the techno-fueled social unrest of the sci-fi movies we've watched for decades. And that dichotomy has been made manifest in many of our most vibrant cities. Most cyberpunk works are set in cities that are either inspired by or explicitly future versions of one of three cities: Tokyo, Hong Kong, and Los Angeles. In the case of Los Angeles, related cyberpunk media includes Cyberpunk 2077, Blade Runner, Demolition Man, Westworld, Terminator 2, and partially The Matrix. And the relationship between cyberpunk and Los Angeles is for good reason. The largest population of unhoused people in the country seeks shelter mere blocks away from the financial district. Developments are either underfunded and in disrepair or gentrifying and displacing. All of the hallmarks of the Second Gilded Age permeate across downtown, from the flashy LA Live to the ad hoc Santee Alley, from the unrealized Graffiti Towers to the bankrupt Skid Row Housing Trust, from the vacated Dome Village homeless shelters to the west to the abandoned railroads to the east. It is imperative that we bring a new, context-adaptive approach, a new cyber and a new punk, to architecture. The futurist, neo-futurist, and postmodern ideas of the forward thinkers of the past experiments, speculations, and proposals from the likes of Yona Friedman, Cedric Price, Paolo Soleri, Kiyanori Kikutake, Antonio Santella, and Archigram must be assessed, authenticated, and adapted to a culture that is more fluctuating and more globalized than ever. These are the concerns that drive the narrative of this thesis, which tells the story of a near-future Los Angeles and begins with the startup company FLATPAK. FLATPAK's business model works by driving trucks to delivery addresses around the city. Here, the company's namesake is deployed. A high-tech kit of parts derived from recent research developments in deployable structures is removed from the truck and assembled on site. The proprietary device, known as the FLATPAK, then unfolds into the next generation of pop-up shelters. Small enough to fit in a truck, large enough to host a bed and desk, outfitted with hardware to provide water and electricity, boasting replaceable, vandal-resistant panel systems for rapid maintenance, and capable of connecting to other units to increase in size, FLATPAK brings flexible service to a whole different level. Whether it be for glamping or camping, homeless shelters or tiny homes, the housing needs of Los Angeles' most vulnerable, nomadic, and adventurous communities can be met by FLATPAK. There's just one issue. This product fails. Sure, maybe it takes off at first. It shows up on Instagram ads and TikTok sponsorships. The Los Angeles Times and Design Boom even write articles about them. But as happens with most products that are built to cater to a fad, the people lose interest. The profit margins start shrinking, the grant money runs dry, the angel donors quietly withdraw their investments, the manufacture of new kits of parts and the maintenance of old ones, which was already difficult before, is now impossible. FLATPAKs around the city fall into disrepair, earning them the pejorative nickname RATPAK. The company goes under, leaving hundreds of unserviced, unsupervised, high-tech deployable shelters littered around the city. Some are taken out on a single camping trip, then left in a backyard and forgotten. Others appear in donation stores, others in dumpsters. But what few are expecting is that the RATPAKs find new life, and their stories are just beginning. The true thesis of this project isn't to solve homelessness or propose a concept for an ADU. It tells a story of an intervention that anticipates doing some good before ultimately failing, sure, but it's the next stage, the post-failure stage, the very possible near future in which everything as we know it gets just a little bit worse, that is of interest. How might the characters in this near future, forced into improvisation and hot rodding by their increasingly dire circumstances, learn to scrounge, to scavenge, to be scrappy? The goal is to design for decay, design for delinquency. How do we resolve to live with brokenness, with being broke? The undercommons do not come to pay their debts, to repair what has been broken, to fix what has come undone. Harney and Moten describe the undercommons as the social life that persists and proliferates among people who've been excluded from, or who refuse the terms of, legitimate society. This thesis is not an architectural proposal because that implies it's solving a problem, which is not the point of the project. Rather, this thesis is a story, a response to the undercommons, a call to practice imagining fantastical futures to design for again. And in doing so, dream of an alternative place, a utopia within the dystopia, a wild place that is not simply the space left over that limbs real and regulated zones of polite society. Rather, it is a wild place that continuously produces its own unregulated wildness. The plan is to invent the means in a common experiment launched from any kitchen, any back porch, any basement, any hall, any park bench, any improvised party, every night. In revitalized cyberpunk fashion, this thesis strives to rebelliously design alternative spaces tailor-fit to the nomadic, fluctuating wants and needs of downtown Los Angeles' near-future undercommons. Sometimes covert, sometimes loud, sometimes intimate, sometimes public. The project identifies 10 sites across the metropolis, 10 typologies to worm into, to occupy, to leverage, and proposes a two-pronged approach to engaging with them. First, a long-term, easy-assembly infrastructural framework is installed in the site. Second, a short-term, small-scale set of nomadic RATPAKs is deployed onto the framework. The parts of this kit may be switched out to better suit the needs of the community. The infrastructural framework acts as a canvas to be painted and repainted as the users see fit. The result is a reappropriation of available technologies, resources, and real estate, an evening of the odds, a revitalized re-punking of America's most cyberpunk city. The jewelry district houses one of Los Angeles' many microeconomies, hence its namesake. The sheer weight of this microeconomy is made architecturally manifest just across the street from Pershing Square in the even more famous International Jewelry Center. At 16 stories and with over 400 tenants, it's the largest jewelry building in the western half of the United States. This intervention caps the roofs of the neighboring pawn shops with a shining crown, a micro-residence masquerading as a billboard. The shell of nomadic installations acts as a facade for the infrastructure behind, which is broad enough to house a small community. Leveraging the sunlight, collecting rainwater, and jacking into the rooftop systems provide utilities to this post-postmodern Trojan horse. John Portman's hotels crop up around the world, many of which boasting large atriums and sleek postmodern aesthetics. The Westin Bonaventure in the financial district is no exception. Often less noted than this hotel, though, are the sky bridges that connect it to adjacent buildings. These are called pedways, and they're physical evidence of the 1970 concept Los Angeles that utopically imagined walkable streets above the street, but lost momentum before it could be fully realized. The pedways that exist today rarely see foot traffic. In order to cyberize and revitalize them, an infrastructural scaffolding is installed around them, allowing a weather-responsive, deployable row of screened and speaker-filled RATPAKs to double as both coverage and art installation. The public is finally directed to look up towards these sky bridges rather than the buildings that connect them, to prioritize movement over luxury. Los Angeles' answer to New York's Grand Central Station lies at the northeast edge of downtown. A glowing, recently renovated Spanish colonial revival building, Union Station is the city's vibrant nexus of many of its main rail lines and the setting of scenes from several Hollywood films, including The Replacement Killers and Blade Runner. In real life, though, it's also one of the ends of the line at which hundreds of unhoused people are kicked off every night. Between midnight and 3 a.m., Union Station has the highest concentration of unhoused in the city. People sit on stoops under the shadow of the Union Station, trying to plan out where to go next. This proposal inserts a vertical infrastructure in the center of a roundabout ramp to one of the station's parking garages, utilizing the pre-existing slope of the ramp as walking space. People can hang their RATPAKs on the infrastructure for temporary shelter at several levels, granting themselves a pop-up cyber tent with higher security, getting off the streets by going below them. On the east side of downtown, a large number of railroads snake from north to south, many of which date back over a century. Over the years, many of these rails have exchanged ownership, with several falling into disuse. One such rail network lies here, The UP freight station used to use this rail for carload freight. Now it's gone defunct as modern warehouses rely primarily on truck service. In this case study, abandoned subway and train cars are cobbled together to house a series of RATPAKs for storage and for living. They're outfitted with solar panels and generators and septic tanks and kitchens and beds and desks. Here, each RATPAK now effectively acts as its own car on a train, and each one capable of serving purposes from shelter to locomotion to power generation. Los Angeles is no stranger to lots of hot weather and a shortage of outdoor shelter, and Gloria Molina Grand Park is no exception. Spanning several blocks of the government district and capped at its southeastern end by City Hall, the park is downtown's largest and arguably most popular. These grand, open lawns are often the site for public events, pop-up installations, political rallies, and protests. This latest installation, while playing the part of a high-tech, deployable, weather-responsive canopy, also presents an opportunity for protest in the unlikeliest of places. The fully deployed screens are hijacked, hacked into, providing shelter from the sun to the pedestrians below while broadcasting rebellious messages to those looking down upon it from City Hall. The western corner of downtown is the flashiest, and arguably the most cyberpunk, with LA Live, the crypto arena, the convention center, and several adjacent buildings effectively functioning as the city's entertainment district. Just across the street, though, is the unrealized ocean-wide plaza. It was an ambitious project for a residential and retail complex that was intended to be a showy addition to this part of downtown. It began construction in 2015, ran out of money and halted in 2019, and has been in limbo ever since. In 2024, it was covered with graffiti. In shockingly rebellious cyberpunk fashion, multiple floors on all three buildings were broken into and tagged by an entire community. In the near future, things get taken up a notch as the Graffiti Towers, as they're colloquially called, become a residential complex after all, just not the one originally intended. Squatters move in and claim the space. They develop their own pedways between the buildings. They throw parties. They install screens on the buildings, some where jumbotrons were originally supposed to go, others in entirely new places, competing with the neon glow across the street by mockingly projecting its own. Downtown Los Angeles' fashion district has been a hub of commerce for decades, and over the years, it's undergone several transformations. For example, the Bendix building, which stands as an icon of the district, used to be the home of several businesses, offices, and corporations. Now, it's the site for a diverse and eclectic set of galleries, art studios, exhibitions, shows, and parties. A perfect fit into a fashion district that is becoming increasingly populated by artists, fashion street markets, and several immigrant communities. It's also in the midst of significant economic hardship. Artists and retailers have seen a devastating drop in sales due to public fear of immigration raids. In the near future, this case study proposes, the solution that some of the more mischievous members of this community come to is to create safe spaces where there are none. In Hollywood, the term backlot is used to describe the space behind a movie studio where temporary sets are constructed for film and television. In the interstitial spaces between the Bendix building and its neighboring structures, the term backlot is used to describe a light show, a runway, a celebration. People are drawn out by the prospect of a fun time away from prying eyes. The people of this community are granted the opportunity to feel empowered by identity, by fashion, by self-expression, not targeted because of them.
Bailándote, bebé, me quemas.
The 7th Street Viaduct is a literal bridge over troubled waters. Designed to mitigate flooding, the Los Angeles River Channel forms a giant concrete tear across eastern downtown. There have been many campaigns by designers to revitalize the concrete channel, perhaps most notably from the late Frank Gehry, but the channel today remains barren, flanked mostly by railroads and small unhoused communes. It remains an icon of Los Angeles and has appeared in several Hollywood productions over the years. The 7th Street Viaduct itself is technically 2 bridges, the upper of which remains in use, but the lower of which has been abandoned for roughly a century. This proposal installs infrastructure across the floor and along the underside of this underutilized space, leveraging its massive columns as support. Nested within this infrastructure is the nomadic architecture, a commune of RATPAKs for living, for resting, for playing, tucked away from the elements and potential danger when night falls. In this highly commercial part of the city sits Spring Street Park, a relatively new green space that finished construction around 2013. The bordering Harlem Place is a byway that spills out into the park on one side but terminates in a fenced-off, untapped alley on the other. This intervention resolves that tension while ironically contributing to the retail atmosphere of the neighborhood in punkified fashion. Initially posing as infrastructure for facade maintenance, scaffolding and RATPAKs are squeezed into the alley, creating an intimate, multi-level market that revitalizes Harlem Place and provides a programmed connection between previously disjointed ends of the byway. Tiny restaurants, retailers, and vendors pop in and out of these spaces as they please, putting a more chaotic and mischievous spin on the most commercial aspects of the city. northern tip of downtown is characterized by the 4-level interchange, known colloquially as the Stack. Serving as the set of several Hollywood movies and hundreds of passing cars, this bundle of freeways is nothing short of a jungle gym, and this proposal seeks not to diminish but rather to amplify this aspect. Delinquents from across the city gather to leverage the infrastructure's many overhangs and pillars by installing its own set of infrastructure among them, activating this concrete playground. RATPAKs, here serving the purposes of platforms, screens, and speakers, literally set the stage for all things music, partying, dancing, sex, drugs, and electronic pop, rap, rock, and roll. We are shifting deeper and deeper into an increasingly globalized, capital-centric, hyper-oscillating post-postmodern culture. The line between irony and sincerity is becoming unprecedentedly blurry. Everything is a reflection or distortion of everything else. Trends in fashion, music, entertainment, aesthetics, nostalgia waves, corporate products, social media, and, of course, architecture are cycling faster than ever, folding in on each other and imploding as we grasp desperately for a sense of tantalizingly fluctuating meaning and personal identity. The terms that have become buzzwords in contemporary architecture for solving these crises, adaptive, flexible, dynamic, responsive, ephemeral, multimodal, modular, reconfigurable, have become watered down as they oversaturate the industry. Over the decades, they've lost the electrically creative rebelliousness they first carried when postmodernism was still developing. In keeping with the times, this thesis calls for a rejuvenation and experimental reappropriation of these ideas, not by proposing a typical architectural intervention, but by pushing the discipline to practice imagining fantastical futures to design for again. In the age of constant trend cycles, this thesis calls for a re-embrace of futures past. This thesis calls for a cyberpunk-punk in architecture, because the stories we tell in our ideation now are vital to guiding the choices we make in our work in the future. It is imperative that we maintain the wonder, that we remember to take inspiration from across borders in media, time, and culture to cultivate hope when it seems there's none left.